3 days ago, 4 human beings strapped themselves into a capsule the size of a small bathroom, sat on top of a rocket taller than the Statue of Liberty, and blasted off toward the moon. For the first time in 54 years, people have left Earth orbit. Not robots, not satellites. Actual humans, breathing, sweating, eating freeze-dried meals, and fighting with Microsoft Outlook on the way to the moon. That actually happened, by the way. One of the astronauts couldn't get his email to work while traveling at 6,000 miles per hour through deep space. NASA had to remote into his laptop, just like your IT department does when your computer acts up at work. But here's the thing nobody's really talking about. Those 4 astronauts are not flying that spacecraft alone. The real pilot, the thing keeping them alive, plotting their course, and monitoring every system on that ship, is an artificial intelligence, and the same AI technology helping those astronauts get safely to the moon and back is also helping the US military pick bombing targets in Iran right now. Stay with me, because the story of Artemis II is way bigger than a trip around the moon. It's about what happens when we hand the most important decisions in human history, who lives, who dies, and how far we go, over to machines. Okay, so let me set the stage here, because this is genuinely historic, and most people don't realize just how incredible it is. On April 1st, 2026, at 6:35 in the evening Eastern Time, NASA's Space Launch System rocket lifted off from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. On board the Orion spacecraft, which the crew named Integrity, were NASA astronauts Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Koch, along with Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen. This is the first time humans have left low Earth orbit since Apollo 17 launched on December 7, 1972. That was before any of these astronauts were even born. Victor Glover just became the first black person to travel beyond low Earth orbit. Christina Koch became the first woman. Jeremy Hansen became the first non-American. And they're on track to travel farther from Earth than any human being in history, over 252,000 miles, breaking the record set by the Apollo 13 crew back in 1970. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for anyone who cares about technology. This is not your grandfather's moon mission. The Apollo astronauts had a computer with less processing power than your microwave. The Artemis II crew has an AI-powered digital cockpit, advanced algorithms monitoring every life support system on the ship, and digital twin simulations running constantly to predict problems before they happen. According to AI Magazine, the mission's complexity requires sophisticated digital twin modeling and autonomous systems. While the astronauts will manually fly Orion to test its handling, the vast majority of trajectory plotting and life support monitoring is handled by advanced algorithms. The spacecraft's vehicle management computers are derived from Boeing 787 flight computers, but hardened to survive radiation in the Van Allen belts and the extreme temperatures of deep space, swinging from 200 degrees Celsius to -200. One analysis described AI as functioning like a fifth crew member on this mission, bridging the gap between human intuition and the overwhelming amount of data that modern spaceflight produces. That's a long way from the Apollo days, when astronauts were doing math with slide rules, but this mission almost didn't happen. After the uncrewed Artemis I flight in 2022, NASA discovered that the Orion capsule's heat shield had eroded way more than anyone predicted during re-entry. Chunks of the ablative material, the stuff that's supposed to protect the crew from temperatures reaching half as hot as the surface of the sun, just broke off. Engineers spent 2 years analyzing what went wrong and debating whether it was safe to put 4 humans on top of that same design. Some experts said no, redesign the shield. NASA said they'd fix it by changing the re-entry angle instead. The astronauts trusted that analysis with their lives, and the AI systems monitoring that heat shield during re-entry will be the last line of defense if something goes wrong. And this isn't just about getting to the moon, it's about what comes next. NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman said this mission lays the foundation for an actual permanent base on the moon, and eventually for crewed missions to Mars. And let me tell you, there is no Mars mission without AI. Not now, not ever. If you're watching this and thinking that sounds like a good thing, you're right, it is a good thing. But the same technology that's keeping astronauts alive in deep space raises some very uncomfortable questions back here on Earth. The Perseverance rover on Mars completed the first ever drive on another planet that was planned entirely by artificial intelligence, not by a human being sitting in a control room at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California. By an AI. NASA's team used a generative AI model, specifically a vision language model built in collaboration with Anthropic, the company behind Claude, to analyze images of the Martian surface, identify rocks and hazards, and chart a safe route for the rover to follow. Perseverance then drove that route autonomously, covering hundreds of feet without any human telling it where to go. Vandy Verma, a space roboticist at JPL, said generative AI is showing real promise in what she called the 3 pillars of autonomous navigation: perception, which means seeing the rocks and ripples; localization, which means knowing where you are; and planning and control, which means deciding and executing the safest path. Now think about why this matters so much. Mars is an average of 140 million miles from Earth. A signal from mission control takes anywhere from 4 to 22 minutes to reach the rover. You can't drive a car in real time with a 22-minute delay on the steering wheel. So if we ever want rovers to explore more than a tiny patch of Mars, or if we ever want to send humans there, the machines have to be able to think for themselves. Matt Wallace, who runs JPL's Exploration Systems office, put it in terms that should make every American pay attention. He said, "Imagine intelligent systems not just on the ground at Earth, but inside our rovers, helicopters, drones, and surface robots, trained with the collective wisdom of NASA's engineers, scientists, and astronauts." He called it the game-changing technology we need for a permanent human presence on the moon and to take the United States to Mars and beyond. And here's the part that connects everything. The AI company that helped Perseverance make that historic drive? Anthropic. The same company the Pentagon is currently suing because it wouldn't let the military use Claude without restrictions on autonomous weapons. The same company that President Trump called a national security risk. The same company whose technology helped plan bombing targets in Iran. One AI system, helping a rover explore Mars peacefully and helping a military plan strikes in Iran. Same technology, completely different consequences. But here's what really kept me up at night researching this episode. And I want to hear what you think about this in the comments, because this is one of those questions where there genuinely is no easy answer. If AI can keep 4 astronauts alive on a 10-day trip around the moon, and it can drive a rover across Mars without any human help, then what happens when that same technology decides it knows better than us? Let me explain what I mean by that, because this isn't some hypothetical science fiction scenario. This is already happening. Right now, as the Artemis II crew is approaching the moon, they are going to spend about 50 minutes on the far side, completely cut off from all communication with Earth. No radio, no data, nothing. For almost an hour, those 4 astronauts and the Orion spacecraft's computers will be entirely on their own, farther from help than any human being has ever been. During those 50 minutes, every decision about the spacecraft's systems, life support, temperature, trajectory will be made by the onboard algorithms. The astronauts can intervene manually if something goes wrong, but the AI is designed to handle routine operations so the crew can focus on science observations and photography of the far side. And NASA says this is exactly the kind of capability they need to develop for future missions. Because when astronauts eventually go to Mars, the communication delay will make it impossible for mission control to manage the spacecraft in real time. The AI won't just be a helpful assistant, it'll be the primary decision maker for days or weeks at a time. Now here's where the uncomfortable parallel shows up. Remember that AI targeting system called Lavender that Israel used in Gaza, the one that flagged 37,000 people as potential targets, and human analysts spent about 20 seconds reviewing each one? That system was designed with the exact same logic. Humans can't process this much data fast enough. So let the machine handle it and have a human rubber stamp the results. In space, that logic saves lives. On a battlefield, it can end them. And the question nobody has answered yet is where exactly you draw the line between helpful AI and dangerous AI when the technology is fundamentally the same. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb wrote just this week that so far we have never truly employed AI in space, but future missions will likely be navigated and guided by AI rather than being, as he put it, helicopter parented by NASA engineers. He sees that as a good thing. And for space exploration, it probably is. But the same week Loeb wrote those words, a federal judge in San Francisco issued a ruling saying the Pentagon had engaged in First Amendment retaliation against the very AI company whose technology is helping explore Mars because that company tried to set ethical limits on how AI is used in war. And the Trump administration filed an appeal 2 days ago. Meanwhile, the Perseverance rover quietly drives across Mars, following routes planned by the same AI that a sitting president called a threat to national security. Let that sink in for a second. If this blew your mind even a little bit, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people find this, and this is the kind of thing everyone should be thinking about. Okay, I'm not going to leave you just staring at the ceiling tonight, because there is genuinely good news here. And there are things that each of us can do. First, celebrate what just happened. 4 human beings are flying around the moon right now. Today, as you're listening to this, Victor Glover, a Navy test pilot from Pomona, California, is the first person of color to see the far side of the moon with his own eyes. Christina Koch, who already holds the record for the longest single spaceflight by a woman, is about to see Earth as a tiny blue marble from 250,000 miles away. That's extraordinary. That's what AI can help humans accomplish. Second, pay attention to the Artemis program. NASA has estimated that each launch of the SLS rocket and Orion capsule costs about $4.1 billion. A 2023 Pew survey found that only 12% of Americans thought sending humans to the moon should be a top priority for NASA. Most people said the agency's time would be better spent tracking asteroids and monitoring climate change. That's a fair debate to have, but you should have it based on facts, not headlines. The technology being tested on Artemis II has direct applications for medicine, communications, agriculture, and yes, for the military too. Third, demand transparency about how AI is being used. Whether it's navigating a rover on Mars or selecting targets in a war zone, the public has a right to know what these systems are doing and who is overseeing them. When your senator talks about AI policy, make sure they're talking about both sides, the incredible potential and the serious risks. Fourth, support the companies and organizations that are trying to set ethical boundaries. The fact that Anthropic was willing to lose a $200 million Pentagon contract rather than agree to unrestricted military use of its AI is significant, regardless of what you think about the politics. Ethical guardrails on AI don't happen by accident. They happen because people insist on them. Fifth, understand that this is a global race. The United States isn't the only country building AI for space. China has invested heavily in autonomous lunar and Mars systems. Japan's space agency JAXA is launching its Martian Moons exploration mission this year with AI-driven navigation. Europe built the service module that's keeping the Artemis II crew alive right now. The decisions America makes about AI ethics today will determine whether we lead this new era of exploration or whether we hand that leadership to countries that don't share our values. And sixth, talk to your kids and grandkids about this mission. Show them the live stream. Let them watch 4 astronauts orbit the moon in real time on NASA's YouTube channel, because this is their future, a future where AI helps us explore other worlds, cure diseases, and do things our generation never imagined possible, but also a future where the same tools can be used to wage war faster than any human can stop it. They need to grow up understanding both sides. Remember that moment I told you about at the beginning? Reed Wiseman complaining about Microsoft Outlook while hurtling through space at thousands of miles per hour? That's actually the most important detail of this whole story, because it reminds you that behind all the AI and the algorithms and the autonomous systems and the digital twin simulations, there are still human beings, real people with real frustrations, real courage, and real families back home who are watching NASA's live stream and biting their nails. In about 3 days, the Artemis II crew will fly over the far side of the moon. They'll see craters and ridges that no human eye has ever seen before. The shadows stretching across that ancient surface will reveal features that even our best cameras couldn't capture. And for 50 minutes, they'll be completely alone, just 4 people and a very smart computer, farther from home than anyone has ever been. The question isn't whether AI belongs in space. It does. We literally cannot explore the universe without it. The question is whether we're going to be as careful with AI down here on Earth as we are when 4 lives depend on it up there. Because right now, the same country that just sent astronauts to the moon is using AI to fight a war in Iran, suing the company that helped a rover drive on Mars, and asking machines to make decisions that used to require human judgment. We can build a future where AI takes us to the stars, or we can build one where it helps us destroy each other faster. Right now, we're doing both at the same time, and that should make every single one of us pay very close attention. I want to know your honest take on this. Does it make you proud that Americans are heading to the moon again? Does it scare you that the same AI is being used for war? Or is it a little bit of both? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one, and the conversations on this channel are some of the best on YouTube. Think about someone in your life who would care about this. A space nerd, a veteran, a teacher, a grandparent who remembers watching Apollo. Send them this video, because this moment, astronauts at the moon, AI on Mars, machines at war, is one of those things that deserves more than a headline. And if this is your first time here, I drop new episodes every other day, and honestly, what's coming next might be the most important one yet. Subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.